Okay, guys, welcome to the channel, PLO Sniper. Here I have a hand from Best Bet Jacksonville. It's a 510 PLO game, and it looks like they have a 25 automatic shadow on. We'll do hands from all stakes or sizes, but I'm going to try to over index on games that you're more likely to see at your everyday casino because I think those decision points are more interesting because it's more relatable for us and we can really break the game down in a way that's interesting. So let's run the video and I will pause and commentate on kind of interesting parts in the hand.
I didn't have a pair. That's the problem. Thought I had a pair. You probably had a hunt. Hey, you ready?
All right, so Henning has joined the game now, so we are at a full strength.
Bullet number 3. Have I gotten through one orbit yet?
That was the point. You're gonna have somebody, Steve.
Yeah. That's what you said, right? You got. If somebody doesn't end up in the poker hospital, it's probably not a good game.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause the commentary and then I'll just talk through. So Yak there has a clear fold with 4-4-3-2 under the gun, double suited. Not gonna lie, it looks pretty. Sometimes I might consider playing that, but it's definitely a fold. Hang with the Jack 7-7-4 double suited. He opens to 75, a little bit less than full pot, should be 100. This is also a hand that you probably want to fold, but you know, we all find an excuse to play a double suited paired hand. Nate calls with the King Queen 10 deuce, King Queen suited. This is a hand you're just gonna want to fold. You're on the button, so maybe you convince yourself that it's worth playing, but you're gonna want to fold that hand. Peter calls out the small blind with the Jack 9-8-8. Probably the solver says fold, but I don't think anything wrong here. But the reason why you want to fold these hands is because, you know, in this dynamic, it's a $25 straddle that they've agreed to put to automatic, but there's a lot of people here bought in for $1,000, so they're playing at 40 big blind. So you're going to see with these PLO games a lot of action pre-flop, and if you're just playing marginal hands where you want to see a flop, you're going to see yourself in weird situations a lot where you might be forced to put more money in than you want with a shittier hand. And that's exactly what happens here. So TPC, he goes all in with the ace king jack 5 and he only has $300. So he must have lost a hand earlier and didn't rebuy yet. Which I actually like this play by him because he has no money. I mean, he's basically a little more than 10 big blinds. And ace king jack 5, you know, it's not a super strong hand, but you know, it's got the high cards working for it, so it's going to do quite well. He gets called by pretty much everyone. They call the additional 250 up to 325, and they go to a flop 4 ways. So let's talk about this. Hang. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a small raise, everyone's going to call, but you need to be worried, right? Because if someone was really playing smart, they might flat thinking this guy's going to go in with any 4 cards, and you find yourself putting a lot of money in the pot with this head, this type of head, just to get squeezed out by someone like Peter. And having played with some of the guys in this lineup before, you know, there are some capable players who will back raise with strong hands, so something to be aware of. But regardless, everyone goes in. So now there's around $1,300 in the pot and 4 ways with no money in a side pot. So the hand doesn't get interesting to the river. It goes check, check, check on the flop. So the 8 of spades comes in. So this is an interesting hand, interesting card. So the 8 of spades, it gives Peter here 3 of a kind. It makes hang a 7 high flush, and Nate has nothing, just a pair of tens. So when Peter checks this card, and the action's on hang, Hang could consider putting a bet in here. It, he has a flush. There's no side pot, but really getting people to fold out maybe a set, like exactly what Peter has, or maybe if someone just had like a shitty two pair, like 10-5 or 10-6, getting them to fold and you protect your equity in the pot is not the worst idea. That being said, if you get raised, you just have to fold if you're raising with a 7 high flush into a dry side pot. But, it's better to put the action in now and deny people to see a free river because there's really not a lot of good river cards with a 7 high flush. So now the hand gets interesting. Here the board pairs with a 10. Peter now makes a full house and he elects to bet. He bets, not sure, I can't see how much it is. He bets 350 into a pot of 1300, so I guess that's a little bit like quarter pot. He's just trying to get called by a flush. And hang here, he's got a 7 high flush, and he's got a decision. So let's see what he does. Okay, he elects to call. Now I think this is a clear mistake. So if you think about it, Peter's a very strong player. He's a bit on the tighter side too. Not saying he's not capable of bluffing, but for the most part, he's a very solid bit on the tighter side. When he's betting into 2 players that have action and 1 player who's already all in on a paired board, he's never bluffing, right? He has no benefit in bluffing because he still has to beat the guy who's all in. So for him to be betting 350 into this board, he's never betting a hand, he's never bluffing, and he's never betting a hand for value that is worse than a 7 high flush. So I think this call by hang here is really bad. I think that's a mistake. You just have to fold there, right? You're never beating a hand that Peter's willing to bet. Now Nate does something really interesting here. He goes all in with just king 10. So he just has a 10 and he's going all in. And this is really interesting. If you look at this from his perspective, basically what he realizes correctly is that his 10 is never good. It's never the best hand on this run out. However, because he has a 10, it's way less likely someone else has a 10 with a full house. So by going all in here, essentially he's trying to get a flush to fold. If he gets a flush to fold, he picks up the $700. It says he only has 660 here, but it looks when he cut it out, it looks like it was closer to 900. So, he's risking 900 to pick up 700. And sometimes he picks up the whole pot if the person who's all in didn't make a hand or went all in with aces or something. In this scenario, the guy who went all in, he just has ace high. So if he gets Peter and hang to fold, that's really a great bet. So that's quite interesting. And now the decision is on to Peter. He put out 350. He has eights. And really it comes down to a simple decision. Does he think Nate is bluffing here? So as we went for the same reasons that Peter is not incentivized to be bluffing because it's a dry side pot. Well, the same isn't true for Nate, right? So Nate now is incentivized to pick up the dead 350 or the 700 out there, 350 from each Peter and hang. So he potentially could be bluffing. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, I'm not familiar with all the guys in this game. I've never seen this player before, but how many players are turning a 10 into a bluff in a side pot, And if he's not bluffing, what hands are you beating with pocket eights if you're Peter, right? The hands, obviously 10-8 is unlikely, but, I think players are good enough to find an all in here with 10-6 or 10-5. So Peter has to ask himself, one, if he's bluffing, then I beat all bluffs. So is the guy capable of bluffing? If he's not bluffing, would he do this with pocket fives or pocket sixes? If the answer is yes, then you have to call. If the answer is no, then it sucks, but then you have to fold. So let's see what Peter does.
I think there's a raise somewhere that happened. I'm just waiting for the graphics to get. So who raised? Okay, there it is. Nate did raise. He basically went all in with his trips. And that's probably what Peter's probably trying to dissect, but he maybe has a better boat. Looks like he did call.
Ultimately, Peter found the call there, and he was correct, and he won the pot. But that was a really interesting hand. I mean, that was a tough call for Peter because, for him to call there, he decided that either the guy was bluffing with a 10, which he clearly was, or he thinks the guy's capable of doing it with a worse hand, like pocket fives or pocket sixes, which I think is debatable. But I was watching the stream later. Actually, the guy misread his hand and thought he had a full house. So even though it was an amazing bluff, it would have been better if he had more chips. But even though it was an amazing bluff, he clearly wasn't capable of finding the bluff there because he thought he actually had a full house. Unless he was lying about that and was embarrassed that the bluff didn't work. But anyway, this is an episode of hand reviews from the PLO Sniper. And, it looks like someone got sniped in this hand with an all-in bluff that didn't work out. Thank you. If you like the content, please comment below. Please share what you would have done in this situation, and we'd love to have a dialogue about it. Thank you.